Welcome back to Kringle's Christmas Stories, brought to you by KringlesChristmas.com, home of Comet's Choice premium reindeer food. Reindeer tested, Santa approved. Tonight, we're going on another deep dive into a day in the life of Santa's reindeer, the Great Sleigh Rescue. We'll be looking at Chapter 3. So settle in, grab some hot cocoa, and let's get right into the heart of Christmas magic. The world seemed so still as the snow started to fall. Everything was quiet, even the forest surrounding the crash site. It was like the trees were holding their breath. High above, the aurora was shimmering, but you could barely see it through the trees. Santa climbed out of the sleigh, brushing the frost off his beard. His coat was covered in snow, and he didn't look so jolly anymore. "Is everyone all right?" he asked. You could hear the worry in his voice. Blitzen got out of his harness and slowly stood up. "Yeah, we're fine," he said, looking at the other reindeer. "How about you guys?" The reindeer groaned as they got to their feet, shaking the snow off their fur. Prancer winced a little when she stretched her leg, but she nodded at Blitzen. "We're good," Rudolph said. His nose glowed faintly in the darkness. But, where are we? The reindeer all looked around. The forest was dense, and they didn't recognize it. The snow-covered trees blocked out most of the moonlight. It was really cold. The only light came from Rudolph's nose. It cast a faint red glow, but it wasn't enough to see very far. Santa started checking out the sleigh. He ran his hands along the golden runners and the damaged propulsion system. The stardust chamber was cracked, and some of the shimmering stardust was leaking out. The reins were a tangled mess, and the sleigh's frame was splintered. "This is bad," Santa said. "The propulsion system's broken. We can't fly without it." Dasher pawed at the ground and snorted. "Can't we fix it?" Santa shook his head and sighed. "Not with what we have. We need stardust to fix the chamber, and the runners are bent too." Vixen's ears twitched. She sounded nervous. "So what do we do?" "I can't just stay here," Blitzen stepped forward. "No need to panic," he said firmly. "We're Santa's reindeer. We've been through worse, and we always figure something out." The other reindeer stood up a little straighter. Blitzen's confidence calmed them. "Okay," Blitzen said. "Here's the plan. Dasher and Comet, you two scout the area. See if you can find anything we can use to fix the sleigh. Branches bark anything strong enough. Prancer and Vixen, you two work on untangling the reins. Rudolph, keep your nose glowing so Santa can see." "How about us?" Donner asked. Blitzen grinned. "You and I are going to figure out how to replace the stardust," Santa chuckled. "That's the spirit team," he said, his eyes twinkling. "Let's get to work." Dasher and Comet took off into the forest. Their hooves crunched on the snow as they jumped over logs and dodged between trees. "Think we'll find anything useful out here?" Comet asked, looking around the dark woods. "We have to," Dasher said. "Blitzen's counting on us." They searched carefully, keeping an eye out for anything that might be helpful. After a while, they found a grove of pine trees with low branches. The wood looked strong but also flexible, perfect for fixing the runners. "This will work," Dasher said. He bit off a few branches. They gathered as many as they could carry and headed back to the crash site. Prancer and Vixen were working hard on the reins. The leather straps were all knotted up, and their hooves kept slipping on the cold leather. "Oh, this is going to take forever," Vixen grumbled, as she pulled on a particularly stubborn knot. "Not if we work together," Prancer said, nudging Vixen with her nose, slowly but surely. They started to make progress, working as a team. Blitzen and Donner were looking at the propulsion system. The puddle of stardust on the ground was almost gone. "We're not going anywhere without more stardust," Blitzen said, "and we can't just make it appear." Donner tilted his head. "What about that Comet's Choice stuff?" he asked. "You know the reindeer food kids sprinkle everywhere?" Blitzen blinked. "The stuff that helps us find their houses." Donner nodded. "It's full of magic, right? If it can light up the night, maybe it can power the sleigh too." Blitzen thought about it for a second, looking at the faint trails of stardust in the snow. It's worth a shot." He turned to Rudolph. "Rudy, can you check if there's any Comet's Choice left in the sleigh?" Rudolph trotted over to the sleigh. His glowing nose lit up the storage compartments. "Found some," he called out. Blitzen and Donner hurried over. Rudolph pulled out a small pouch of the shimmering grains. Blitzen opened it, and the smell of peppermint filled the air. "This just might work," he said. You could hear the hope in his voice. Just then, they heard a rustling sound. The reindeer froze, listening carefully. Out of the bushes came a group of animals, foxes, rabbits, and an old owl with frosty feathers. "Looks like you folks could use some help," the owl said, his voice deep and calm. Blitzen stepped forward and explained what happened. The owl nodded slowly. "We've seen your magic many times," he said. "Maybe it's time we return the favor." The animals went back into the forest, looking for anything that could help. The rabbits dug up frozen crystals from under the snow. The foxes came back with long icicles. Santa and the reindeer worked together, mixing the crystals, icicles, and Comet's Choice. The propulsion chamber sparkled as they poured the mixture inside. The air was buzzing with excitement as Santa got ready to take off. The woodland creatures were all gathered around the sleigh, watching with wide eyes. Santa climbed in and took the reins. "All right, everyone," he said. He sounded hopeful. "Let's see if this works." He gently tugged the reins. The reindeer leaned into their harnesses. Rudolph's nose shone bright red, bathing the forest in a warm glow. And then, with a soft whirring, the propulsion system sputtered back to life. The sleigh shook a little, and then slowly began to rise. The woodland creatures cheered as Santa and the reindeer soared into the night sky. The sleigh flew through the night, the golden runners gleaming in the moonlight. Below them, the world looked like a giant snow-covered map, dotted with twinkling lights from all the towns and villages. As they flew, Santa couldn't help but smile. He knew that even though this Christmas Eve had started with a crash, it would still end with the joy and wonder that only Christmas could bring. Wow, what a story. A tale of teamwork, resourcefulness, and the true spirit of Christmas. What did you think of this chapter?
You know what really stood out to me was how calm the reindeer stayed. Even though things looked pretty bad, they could have panicked. But instead, they just started solving the problem, figuring out what to do, and working together to find solutions. I think that's a great lesson for all of us. When we face challenges, it's important to stay calm, think clearly, and use each other's strengths.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just like Blitzen said, we don't panic. We're Santa's reindeer. We've faced worse before, and we always find a way. Their belief in themselves is amazing. It inspires the other reindeer and even the woodland creatures to help out.
Yeah, and speaking of those woodland creatures, their part in the story is so heartwarming. It shows how powerful community can be and how unexpected alliances can form. The reindeer weren't afraid to ask for help. They knew they couldn't do it alone. And the forest animals who see the magic of Christmas every year, they were happy to help out.
It really shows that we don't have to face our problems alone. There's strength in numbers. And sometimes help comes from the most unexpected places.
That's right. And it's not just about asking for help. It's also about being willing to give it, even when it's not easy.
I love how this story shows that even the smallest creatures can make a difference. The rabbits digging up crystals, the foxes gathering icicles, everyone pitches in. And it all comes together to create something truly magical.
It's a powerful message, especially during the holidays. When we come together, support each other, and use our unique talents, we can create something amazing, just like Santa and his team.
And we can't forget about their ingenuity, using Comet's choice to fix the sleigh. Who would have thought reindeer food could be used like that?
It's a perfect example of resourcefulness. They took something ordinary and found a way to use it in an extraordinary way. Necessity is the mother of invention, as they say. When we're limited, we often find creative solutions we never thought of before.
I'm curious, what do you think is the deeper meaning of using Comet's choice this way?
That's a great question. On one hand, it's a clever way to get the sleigh flying again. But I think it also symbolizes the power of belief and the magic that's inside all of us.
I like that. The idea that even simple things can be extraordinary if we're open to seeing them that way.
Exactly. It's about looking beyond the surface and recognizing the potential in everything and everyone around us.
Makes you think, what else could we do with a little Comet's choice? Maybe we should sprinkle some around and see what happens.
Now that's an experiment I could get behind. But really, I think the true magic of Comet's choice is that it makes us believe in the impossible. It reminds us there's always hope, even when things look tough.
That's a great point. Like, the story's telling us to never give up on our dreams, no matter how hard it gets.
Exactly. And to remember that we're not alone. We have our families and friends. And sometimes even those unexpected helpers come along when we need them most.
This deep dive has been so fun. It's amazing how a simple Christmas story can teach us so much about teamwork and community and believing in the impossible.
It really shows the power of stories. These tales have been around for so long, and they still have so much wisdom to share.
Before we go, I have one last question for you. If Comet's choice is powerful enough to make Santa's sleigh fly, what other secrets could it hold?
That's a good question. Maybe it's like the hidden potential inside each of us, just waiting to be unlocked.
Maybe it reminds us that we all have a little magic inside, just waiting to come out. Well, that's all the time we have for today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks for having me.
And to all our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive has helped you understand the real meaning of Christmas. It's a time for family, for giving, and for believing in the magic around us. Thanks for dropping by Kringle's Christmas Stories, and have a very Merry Christmas. Remember to get your Comet's Choice reindeer food at cometschoice.com.